Hi, welcome back to How to Craft Fair. My name's Tasha and I'm going to be your host for episode 11 in the How to Become a Craft Fair Organizer series. Today I'll show you how to create the perfect vendor application. Let's get started. Okay, so we are ready to start our application process now. To get started, I am using the Microsoft Word program. That is my preferred program, but if you want to use something different, such as Pages, you can use that as well. It does function similar to Word. The first thing you want to do is get information on your page that deals with the event name, the location, the dates and times. And then on that area, I also like to put that setup time and takedown time. So to get yourself started, to add to the top of your page in Word, you want to double click and that should open up your header. And from there, I'm going to go ahead and center my text. You do not have to center your text, but that is my preferred way to do it. From here, I'll start just typing the information in so that you can see how we would set it up normally. All right, now that we've got that information in the header, you can double click on the body of the document and it will take you back to the main area. Now, just because you're clicking off of the header, it will make it grayed out, but it will still be visible when you print it. It's just something that Microsoft Word does with their program. What we'll work on now will be getting the vendor information. In this area, we're going to want to put the name. So that'll be the person's first and last name, their business name if they have one, maybe like Susie's Crafts, a description of what they'll be selling. They can put something like candles, crocheting, glassworks, just so you have a general idea. And then we'll add their address, their phone, their email. And generally you like to make sure that they just give you one of that, even if there are maybe two vendors within one booth. Okay, so to get started with this, I prefer to do it in a table format. I feel like it keeps the information lined up better and it's easier to input and print. However, if you want to do it without a table, that works just as well. It's just whatever you're more comfortable with. So to get started for a table, you're going to go up and you will select Insert, go to the table icon. And when it drops down, this means you can highlight how many rows you'll need and how many columns you'll need. So I generally do 2 columns for each row. That way the header of it has, say, the name or the business name in it, and then the second column will have the information that the vendor will input. And we have 6 here, so I'll do 6 and 2. And then it inserts the table for you. You can hover your cursor right here, drag it over because you know you will need more room for them to write versus what you're going to put as the category on this side. Let me get started with that. Okay, now that we've got the vendor information up there, what I want to note is that don't worry about having it be perfect the first time you run your draft through. You can always go back and give it an edit. That's what I normally do. I like to get the bulk of the information in, and then I'll go back and I'll fix the spelling and put some headers in. So moving forward, what we can do now is insert an area for booth selection. Again, I'm going to insert another table. And what we'll have here is the type of booths. So whether it is a single booth, possibly a double booth, if they want electricity or no electricity. Okay, so now that we've got that entered, what I would like to mention is that those are the options that we used with our own fairs. You have the option to expand that out to say maybe if somebody needs a corner booth, they'd like to be at the front of the hall, the back of a hall. We've had some people that needed to be closer to a restroom. You can put in a special request section. These are all things you can do within your own form to modify it, and all you would need to do is just expand your table out so that you could put that information in there as an option for them. We've now completed the booth selection. for your vendor to complete on what their preference is. And now what we'd like to enter onto the form is going to be the categories. This is going to be important on your forms because it will help you when you begin to map out your event. It's a good idea to have this because that will keep similar vendors from being on top of each other to make it a little more competitive and spread out throughout your layout. And this will be discussed in another How to Craft Fair video. So for the categories, what we'll do is we'll insert another table. What I like to do between my tables that I have in here is I take a couple of times to return. I just like that extra spacing. It leaves a gap so that you can put wording in between it if you'd like to. So for this, I'll get started. I have 12 categories that I'm going to input. So I'm going to select the insert, go back to the table option, and I will select 4 rows and 3 columns so that I can fit my categories in one table. All right, now that we have the categories in, we're going to move on to one that we feel is very, very important to have on your application form. At all times, you should have this either on the front or back, and your vendor should initial it. It is going to be your no refund policy, and if you have anything regarding makeup days. We would always put that in there, and we did require that our vendors initialed the box. So that is how I will set it up for this application. You can make it however works best on your form, but we do recommend that you have that clearly in an area that they see, usually on the front of the form, and that they initial or sign beside it. Again, this is our policy. We had that on there because we wanted to let the vendors know that rain or shine, our event was moving forward. We didn't offer refunds, but you are welcome to adjust this to whatever your refund policy will be. We're moving on to our final section now, and that is going to be your payment information area. In this area, you will want to list the types of payment that you'll be able to accept for the event. We did accept in our events by mail and by PayPal. You'll want to make sure that you have options available to suit your vendors so that it doesn't limit who can attend your show and be a participant. Another thing that you might want to add in this area is if you're holding a juried event, you'll want to put the date here so that the vendors understand when the deadline is. All right, now that we have the meat of the application form in, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back and I'm going to pretty it up. I'm going to maybe fix any punctuation or typos that I made. I'm going to check the spacing and possibly even insert a couple of lines of text above a table or two just to make it look a little bit better. Okay, so that is your basic setup for a vendor application. You, of course, can pretty it up or change things the way that you like to see it. This is what we would consider our first page of an application. And the reason that I say that is because we do have a second page that's attached. Our second page is an information sheet that contains rules about the event, marketing strategies, and different information that they will need to know for the day of the event. Now, for purposes of this video, I will not be completing a second page of the vendor application with that informational sheet. However, I will be showing a sample of what we used to use during our events for your reference. Setting up your own form helps to put your best foot forward. During the years that we held shows, we received many praises for our written communication that we did with each of our vendors. When working with new vendors, one common question we would receive is, how are you going to market your event? By listing the marketing plan on that second page and having it up front, it comforts the vendors and shows your experience in hosting the shows. That will provide confidence to your vendors. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the fully finished vendor application that we use during our shows. Right here we have our finished product. As you can see, when there's a little bit more time allowed, it is a much better form. We took time to build it out to make it more readable and to kind of highlight areas that we really wanted the vendors to pay attention to or was important information for them to see. Here we have the information sheet that I mentioned earlier. This, you can see, is headed at the top to tell the vendors that they need to hold on to this information. And one thing I do want to mention is that this should be made as a separate page when you're printing. Don't print on both sides when you're doing the vendor application, or else the vendor ends up just giving this right back to you. You can see here the type of information that we've included is an expanded area for payment information regarding the day of the event. That does not preclude you from having an email sent out for the day of the event. There's a section on liability, another section for our advertising, and then some just general frequently asked questions. One thing I'd like you to note is down at the bottom of the page, we have a special sentence that we've included just to let the vendors know about our advertising, that at the very minimum, these are the options that we'll be following, but that does not mean that it is the only advertising that we will be doing for the event. So that was an example of our finished product for our vendor form. Please comment below and let me know what you think. Also, leave any suggestions that you might have for your fellow organizers. I hope between the on-screen demo and the application that I shared that we used to use in our shows that you were able to find some tips in this or found the video to be helpful. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a great day.